Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot for July 10th. So, things aren't looking so good for the Republicans. Things are not looking so good for Trump. But what you are seeing, you are now starting to see the cracks in the wall of the support for Donald Trump. You have all kinds of Republicans now basically saying that they are choosing to not attend the Republican convention because it's not going to be safe and it just doesn't need to be done that way. Even Trump himself seems to be backpedaling a little bit about, oh, you know, we're flexible and maybe it won't be Jacksonville. I mean, so I want to take a look at that. I want to literally take a look at the rats who are jumping off the sinking ship, and the sinking ship, which is Donald. Okay, so that's my question. That's what I'm all about today. Let's see if we can get some clarity or some answers about what is going on kind of behind the scenes with the Republican Party and what their interactions with Trump are like these days. What is going on there? Come on down. I think we're going to do one final shuffle. And let's see what we can see, shall we? Okay. Trump and GOP. Trump and GOP. Trump and GOP. You see more and more governors, of course, you know, kind of recognizing that by following Trump, by doing what he commanded and demanded, they've really left themselves incredibly exposed to the disasters, frankly, that they're now in. Okay. All right. So, oh my Lord. In Trump's mind, and that is a bizarre and interesting place, that mind of his, he actually is telling himself that those who are abandoning him were sort of like the weakest links. And it's good that they're leaving because that's going to leave those that are really strong. It is almost as if he really believes that he can do this without any support from anybody. Simple as that. I don't need the senators. I don't need, council people. I don't need Republicans who don't love me. I don't need anybody because I am going to be able to pull off this second amazing election because I did it before and I want it again. And I'm going to do what it takes to make that happen. Now, this is kind of the thing. He's not realizing that he is up against some really powerful forces, as are the GOP senators. And those forces are communications, open communication, and connecting with emotions, both divinely sent. So, translate that. If you're watching this video and you feel strongly that he absolutely has got to be removed from office along with all of his sycophants, then These cards represent you. It's about engaging your emotions to honesty and truth, and that which is going to bring you peace and happiness, and continuing to energize the word, the movement, the forward motion. They completely, not only Trump, GOP to a lesser degree, completely forgot in the last 4 years about how powerful the electorate is. Because they have been so busy trying to shove through their agenda, block everything that isn't part of what they want, and it's like they all we're operating under the illusion, sort of like the bully never gets stopped, right? So we can do whatever we want. We can be gluttons with our power. We can do what we want because we can't be stopped. And they're now very, very slowly starting to recognize that, oh, you know what? In fact, you absolutely can be stopped. And it is the intention of some 75 to 80% of Americans that you be stopped. Okay, so that's what we have there. They bought into the behavior. They bought into the illusion. The GOP people really, really thought that that they could just bamboozle everyone. They could just do whatever they wanted, and almost like I'm too powerful for people to stop me. And what they've discovered is, in fact, they themselves are nowhere near as powerful as they like to tell themselves, or as they have been telling themselves that they are. Oh, there's the Mad King, right? There's the greedy Mad King. So, of course, my card for Trump. Oh, wow. And there's my other card for Trump, the Fool. So literally everything that he does is for himself. It is about him stealing, taking whatever it is he wants to steal or take for his own financial and personal benefit. So, slowly, some of these GOP people are starting to realize that that milk, that got spilt. That toothpaste, it's out of the tube. And now they are looking at what their behavior may very, very well cost them. Now, there are some who are in deep red states who, you know, really they're not going to sort of suffer a whole lot of pushback. Although, trust me, some who are really not expecting pushback are going to get pushback. And they're so disappointed in a lot of things. So on the one hand, the Mitch McConnells are like tap dancing in the back rooms because of the way they have crowded the courts. That was Mitch's agenda. That was the history he wanted to write. And he made sure that his senators knew it. And he made sure that House Republicans knew it. That was the agenda. That's what they were going for. And frankly, he feels like he has accomplished it. Because he feels like he has accomplished it, and to be fair, he kind of has, he's sitting in a place where he still thinks he's invincible. He still thinks he's powerful. And there are some who are holding that same attitude, and they are going to unfortunately be really saddened to discover that the burden they carry now is almost uncarryable, if that's a word, which I don't think it is. It's like they're starting to realize that their communications, that which they have said, that's what they have transmitted, their behavior is really, really going to come back and not work in their favor. And they're now starting to recognize that, oh my Lord, it's going to be a really heavy lift for some of us to actually get re-elected. And the closer we associate with Trump, the harder that re-election is going to be. Now, understand, this is a huge awareness, because for all of this time since Trump won the nomination, they have understood, they have believed that if they go against him, that's going to be dangerous and damaging to them, which is why there was all of the communications, all of the stuff they said and they did that supported him, that backed him up, and more recently has just sort of ignored and have no comments about. They're starting to realize that that association to Trump is actually going to not serve them very well at all. The emperor truly has no clothes. He is disintegrating. He is deteriorating. He is becoming more volatile and more unhinged. And they are slowly starting to recognize that, we could actually be in trouble, because reality is not an accurate reflection of what we are saying and what we have been saying. And so now you are starting to see those cracks, right? You have senators who are saying, and Republicans who are saying, I'm not going to the convention. They're saying, I don't agree, you need to wear masks. They're saying the Confederate flag needs to come down. They're saying all kinds of stuff that is not mimicking Trump's and Pence's, by extension, their talking points. They're starting to veer off because they're really recognizing, frankly, that their own influence, their own assets are now being incredibly jeopardized by the fool running around with no clothes on. Yeah, this is a heavy lift for them. They're starting finally to twig in. And so what you're seeing behind the scenes, or what's going on behind the scenes, is this sort of frantic energy to try to figure out how to respin the platform that they have stood on for 4 years. They are very busy trying to figure out how to minimize the amount of destruction and blood, frankly, that they have on their hands. And as they do that, there's strength in numbers, right? And so the more people who start pulling away from him, the more people who will pull away from him. And ultimately, he ends up in a place where he has no support. I mean, literally, you have the 9 of Wands, you have the 10 of Wands, and you have the 10 of Swords. How much more dire do things need to get for the Republicans before they start to really take even more aggressive movements to try to pull themselves back, frankly, without really antagonizing him? And trust me, they know how sick he is. They know how volatile he is. They know how stupid he is. And mostly, they know how vengeful he is, because every day they see it. Every day he retaliates against whoever and whatever is not singing his song. But again, as the momentum builds up for them to pull back and separate, you're just going to see more of it. It's not going to be like a mass exodus, but you are going to, I would not be surprised if there aren't, maybe, I don't know, can people still retire at this point, this soon to an election? I guess maybe, I don't know. But you're just going to see that separation, and the cracks are going to get wider and wider and wider. There's a lot of talk behind the scenes in back rooms. There's a lot of communications. There's a lot of strategizing going on, as Republicans literally now are struggling to figure out sort of how to turn back time and how to sing a whole different song in a whole different tune than the one they have been singing. It is like they are seeing their promise go down the drain. And honestly, for some of them, they should have, there should have been some plunger action unsticking that drain a long time ago. So what you're seeing is, for some of those people who are either not coming back because they've already announced they're retiring, or feel almost like, you know what, it's a lost cause anyway, sort of like the Susan Collins of the world. They are the ones that are starting. They're saying, listen, you can't help me. In fact, you've damaged me. Or I'm retiring and I don't need you anymore. Once those people get a stronghold, you're going to see that sort of ship rats sinking dynamic becoming more and more noticeable, more amplified, because they know that he has literally killed the party. And they know that some of the things that they think they knew, the things they thought their constituents felt or wanted, they are discovering that, in fact, even their own readings of their own constituents have been inaccurate. And they know the end is coming. And so there's a lot of trying to reposition themselves so they have some sort of platform, credibility, reputation that is still intact enough for them to be able to move forward. And let's be honest, in strong Republican circles, they're going to maintain, to a lesser degree, but still they're going to maintain that stronghold they have. But anybody who's been really, and this is Republicans who have really been meeting resistance, they're the ones that are going to fall. And they can see the writing on the wall. And so they're now busy trying to reposition themselves. I've heard it said that, like, virtually 100% of the people who are currently working in the White House or with this administration are very, very busy updating their resumes and getting their resumes out. And even there, you're going to see, you know, a pulling back a little bit. All of a sudden, it's not really going to be politically correct to align yourself too closely with the Donald. And so you're going to see this sort of separation. Yeah. Okay, so this is really cool. So for those of you who may have forgotten or are new to my channel, for me, currently at this time, the Ace of Swords represents Joe Biden, and the Queen of Swords represents his vice president. So it's interesting that this has showed up in terms of a judgment being rendered and celebrations that take place as a result of the judgment. So, you know, what's the story here? The story is literally, let me just get this in order. Judgment is taking place, which is killing the party, which allows a better receptivity, stronger numbers, better polls for Biden and his vice president. And ultimately, because of everything that has gone on, ultimately there is going to be a celebration because the judgment has basically rendered Trump and his GOP null and void. It has rendered them powerless, and it has cleared out some of the really staunch dinosaurs that frankly have been needing to go for the last 10 and 15 and 20 years. I mean, what is the median age of the Republican senators? Like, it's something like 75 or 80. It's like some crazy number. It's like, get out. Let some new blood come in so that maybe you guys can get your feet unstuck from the 1950s and 60s. We're not holding out hope, okay? But let's try. Okay, so again, they are reassuring... Sorry. They are reassuring you that your White House will stand. There will be celebrations with regards to the White House as a result of judgments being made and new power coming into play. What are we missing? Tower, death, judgment. Yep, there's the Wheel of Fortune coming out next. So this is going to be bad. It's going to be bad for the GOP, and it's going to be bad for Trump. That change of fortune that is going to benefit one side, the Democrats, the never Trumper Republicans, the independents who have just had enough, that wheel of fortune, that good fortune that is going to benefit them is also simultaneously going to be the bad fortune or the misfortune that happens around this group of people who thought that Trump was the wagon that they had to hitch themselves to. And of course, let's not forget, the more this happens, the more is going to be exposed. The more you are going to hear from reporters, the more information is going to come out about more and more and more stuff that went on behind the scenes. And it's not going to bode well. They cannot take the illumination, but the illumination is coming whether they want it or they don't. Because they have a way better chance of being left out in the cold and pushed to the side and marginalized than at this point they even realize or recognize. So the news for the GOP, the news for the president is going to continue to be unpleasant, unpalatable, and in many cases, not reversible. Yeah. You know, you worry, you have anxiety, you get stressed, you're frightened, you're concerned. But again, you are being asked to look at the positives, look at the growth in terms of the resistance to Trump. If there was a strong resistance before February, that resistance has grown exponentially as the crises have grown. So the resistance is growing, and you're being asked to focus on that. Every time there is a little bit of good news or somebody comes out with some crazy theory about how Trump's going to win, push it to the side. The world supports you. And once again, there is a desire to create partnerships and reestablish relationships that have been lost as a result of what has gone on. So this really is an opportunity for you guys to stay focused on the victory and on the great, incredible strides that have been made. Super important to remember that. Stay in your positive spaces. Don't get caught up in the negative, and don't get caught up in these harebrained theories and philosophies out there. When Fox News or Fox Television, which is kind of more accurate, starts to actually say out loud, there is a chance that Trump can lose this election, it is not only to fire up the base so they go, oh my God, he can't lose, so we're all going to get excited and we're going to vote. That's only a part of the motivation for making the statement. The other motivation is the writings on the wall. They see it coming. And so even Fox is now trying to pull back and obscure their close contact, their close relationship with him, and sort of pull back a little bit and try to jump behind the we are objective nonsense, which of course doesn't fly. Okay. So here we have it. We are at another weekend. Hopefully you have a good one. Hopefully there is more positive news than bad news. Continue to stay safe. And until next time, take care, be well. Bye-bye.